showtime. Saving America one mind at a time. This is Smith Radio. And now, your hosts, Carrie and Brian Smith.
Much of what you see and hear on the following program may be shocking and upsetting to you. But if you will listen calmly and with an open mind, you may discover the key to the peace of mind and joy for which you've been searching all of your life.
CNN fake news. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's excellent. Good evening, everybody. This is Brian Smith and
Carrie Smith.
Giving you all usually what we do is we give you all the wrap up from the past week. We give you the breaking news that happened Friday and Saturday, Sunday morning. Make sense of it all, explain it to you so that when you get back to work on Monday, you know exactly what you're talking about. You've got the greatest amount of information that you can have, because you can't always have all the information in hand. But we make sense of it and we break it all down. This week will be a little bit shorter of a show. What we did the past couple of days is we took a trip to D.C., just like the title of our show is. We were at the first annual Real News Media Correspondence Dinner, hosted by Gateway pundit Jim Hoft and Mike Cernovich, as well as Jack Prosobic was there. And
we had Jack Posobiec, Mike Cernovich, Jim Hoft,
Veritas.
James
O'Keefe,
Cassandra Fairbanks. Oh gosh, who else? It was
Katja Lee. Katja.
Yeah, and Carrie Kellerman. And oh gosh, if I forget anybody, my bad.
We
met a lot of new people.
Jim Hoff's White House correspondence guy.
Lucian Winter.
Lucian.
Yes.
Had great time, had a great dinner, connected with a lot of other like-minded individuals.
Right.
It was a time for real news media to lock arms, to support each other. And that's what this is. This whole Trump movement, this whole movement is nothing more than all of us helping to raise each other up, get the real information out, the real news out. So if you like the show, if you listen to us often, we greatly appreciate it if you shared it on Facebook, share it on Twitter, share it on any social media. Let people know that there is a news out there. Well, we're not necessarily news, we're commentary, but there's an excellent commentary show out there for you to get all the real news, exposing all the fake news. What was the biggest fake news that we heard this morning? This was just, folks, this is what I'm talking about. It makes my head explode when I wake up in a hotel room with Carrie and
whoa, hey, too much information.
We got to cut down on the bills, so we split a room. I wake up in the morning and he says, "Hey, guess what's on the front of Yahoo News?" I'm like, "No, dude."
Yeah, well, it turns out, Yahoo News, very front page headline. 2 members of alt-right accused of making white supremacist hand signs in White House after receiving press passes.
Oh, no, they didn't.
So this story, obviously, the 2 people involved I know personally, so I can speak firsthand what the truth is and what isn't the truth. And first of all, alt-right. If you've been listening to us for a long time, you will have heard us come out with an episode where we say, yeah, we're alt-right. Absolutely. So we are on audio in one of our former, and this was before we really truly knew what alt-right was. I was basically interpreting the alt-right based on what I was seeing myself. I was reading about it. I was kind of finding out what people who claim to be alt-right believe in, what their principles were, what they were hoping for, what they were looking for. And it seemed to match most of what I thought at the time. And then it come to find out that alt-right has been around for long before the Trump movement. And maybe this is true or maybe it's not, but it's just, I don't want to be fighting and defending an organization that's been around for a long time and by the way, by organization, I mean, this is very informal. It's like a group of 4chan kids who are gamers who came up with this alt-right or whatever it is. But to make a long story short, we're not associating with alt-right, and I'm not saying that there's something wrong with alt-right. I just don't think that we can define it accurately enough to be able to verify that, oh yeah, that's us. So anyway, alt-right. Mike Cernovich and Cassandra Fairbanks are not alt-right at all. I don't think that they frequent 4chan and are considered part of that in any way that I know of. Have you heard any different?
No.
I mean, they're not 4chan people as far as I know. So, and then accused of making white supremacist hand signs and white. So the word accused is interesting. We've already established that this is already fake news because they're saying that Mike Cernovich and Cassandra Fairbanks are members of alt-right, as if there is a membership process.
I've got a members-only jacket. Does that count?
Does it say alt-right?
It says members only.
Okay. Accused. Keyword accused. They're not saying that they made white supremacist hand signs. They're saying they were accused of it. So they're kind of washing their hands clean of that.
Right.
But they know how readers interpret that. That they're pretty much they're the ones accusing of it.
Right.
And people in the know, and once you read the article, you realize that they are accusing them of that. What is that noise?
See, we're in an underground bunker, folks, and currently there was a storm here past couple of nights.
Okay,
that might be the underground sump pump keeping us afloat.
Okay,
so
I've never heard that before, and I'm like,
hang in there, and we will continue.
Okay, so basically, what happened is Mike Cernovich and Cassandra Fairbanks received White House press passes. And if you follow either one of them, you'll have seen that they live casted from the White House with their passes. And all they did was get to see Donald Trump fly in Marine One, walk into the White House. When they went into the press room, no press happened, or no
conference.
There was no press conference. There could have been one. That's the funny thing about these press conferences. I don't think that they're really that well scheduled.
Usually Monday through Friday, normally. However, this was Friday, so there should have been one. Usually there is.
Well, apparently the way they were talking during their live feed, there could have been one. They were crossing their fingers that they were hoping possibly maybe there'll be something that just somebody shows up to make a statement and they just happen to be lucky enough to be there, but they don't know and they're going to hang out just in case. And that's pretty much what they did. And that tells me that, gosh, it sounds to me like people were in this, the press room as if just luckily, maybe hopefully this will happen.
Right.
That it wasn't necessarily scheduled. So I thought that was kind of interesting, kind of something new to learn. But anyway, so they make hand signs, white supremacist hand signs after receiving press passes. So here's how the article, this fake article goes. 2 members of alt-right accused of making white supremacist hand signs. That was the caption for the video. So the actual picture is of Mike and Cassandra standing behind the podium, standing shoulder to shoulder, and they're holding up what appear to be okay symbols. If you were to give somebody the signal that everything's okay, that's what the hand signal looks like. It's 3 fingers up in the air, and you're making a little circle with your pointer finger and your thumb. That's the okay that we're talking about. They're saying it's a white supremacist symbol, so let's read on. 2 conservative journalists have sparked outcry on social media by making what some have interpreted. Okay, so they're already really distancing themselves from any kind of substantiation.
Some have interpreted. That could be anybody in this entire world.
Somebody interpreted as a white supremacist hand symbol at a recent visit to the White House. Freelance journalist Mike Cernovich and Cassandra Fairbanks, a reporter for Russian news outlet Sputnik, which I thought that was interesting that they threw that in there because we have to link this to Russia, right?
It's always Russia.
They posed for a picture behind the podium in the White House briefing room. In the photo, they are making a hand sign that can be used to signify... Whoa. Who says that? It can be used to signify, quote, white power. I guess.
There you go.
No.
I've never seen... You know where white power comes from? It's the racist KKK organization. I don't know where they're at, though, by the way. I've never seen in my entire life
it's a
KKK.
Unicorn.
Right. No unicorn. So white power is, the Nazi salute, the fist pump, the fist in the air, people resistance, that power thing. It is not, and never has been, the AOK symbol. With the three fingers, and it may even be, that might even be, I'll text my sister because she knows sign language. That might be the official sign language for okay.
Interesting.
I know it's, if you put the three fingers together and not spread them out like a peacock, put them together, I believe that's, that's the letter, I think that's a letter D.
Wow.
But anyways, it's ridiculous.
Illuminatis. Anyway, so, quote, somebody tweeted, just two people doing white power hand gesture in the White House. Fusion senior reporter Emma Roller tweeted along with a screenshot of the picture. Okay, I guess that's their attempt to substantiate this thing. The alt-right is trying to explain away Trump's... what happened to the rest of this article? We lost the rest of this article. Oh, read more.
They cut it off. Yeah, they want you to click
on read more. I'm like, where is it? Wow, I gotta re-up this thing. Anyway, so this is a totally... It's so fake that I immediately tweeted out to the author of this fake news article. And isn't it funny that she did this the same day as the Real News Gala, which I think is very fitting for the whole thing. So it is not letting me read more. That's it. That's the end of it. They must be backtracking on this, I'm assuming, because the read more link is inactive.
Wow.
So that's it. That's the end of it. I wonder if I can go to the Independent. So this was written by a very dishonest reporter from the Independent. Probably going to be I'll bet you the reason that the link is no longer available is because they may have pulled it. Oh, here we go. It's number one on the most popular list on the Independent.
What?
Okay, so let's scroll down to where they left off. Okay, Miss Fairbanks, however, claims the hand gesture was not a reference to the white power movement. She pointed to her partial Puerto Rican heritage as evidence she is not a white supremacist. And Miss Fairbanks said, white power! Except I'm Puerto Rican. Can it be Puerto Rican power? She tweeted. Oh, gotta delete this. Okay. Ms. Fairbanks supporters pointed out that the hand signal is also used to mean okay. Imagine that. Photos show people of all races using the symbol to signify that everything is, quote, all right.
And to prove that, if you follow Jack Prosobiec, that's Jack Posobiec, and he's got a blue check mark on Twitter. He posted Beyonce, Obama, Hillary, and my favorite, Mr. T, all given the white power sign. I mean, the AOK
Beyonce,
sign.
Yeah. Well, they're white supremacists. I mean, right?
Yes.
According to the fake news, The Independent.
Correct.
The symbol, however, has become more contentious with the rise of the alt-right. What rise? First of all, the only rise of the alt-right was that somehow it was like the name given to the Trump movement. The Trump movement rose. And guess what they did? They left behind the label. They did. The label rose with the Trump movement before the Trump movement realized that, you know what? we don't want to be labeled this, and they shook it, and that was it. Brian has just pulled up on his computer the actual sign language symbol for the words okay.
70 million results, sign language okay, on the Google. The very first images.
It's exactly the symbol that Mike
for
Cernovich
white power.
Mike Cernovich. No, what? Oh, hold on, Brian. It's not white power.
No, it's this symbol for okay, and by the way, it's something that Trump does.
Well, and that's why he's a white supremacist, right?
Right.
No. Okay, so it's the rise of the alt-right. A far-right contingent in the United States that rejects both mainstream conservatism and liberal ideologies. I don't know who it was. I guess it was the author of this article decided to define what the alt-right is. A far-right contingent in the United States that rejects both mainstream conservatism and he noticed this little trick that she does. She uses the same definition that can apply to both Trump movement to the alt-right so that she can make the equivalence. So in mathematics, if A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C.
Right.
That's the thing in math. So here she's trying to do that same. It would be a logical fallacy because A doesn't necessarily equal B because that's not really the definition of the alt-right, or at least not that we know of. It's definitely an abridged definition. The self-proclaimed founder of the alt-right, Richard Spencer, is a well-known white supremacist. First of all, I'm not defending Richard Spencer. I think the guy has made some really dopey decisions over the past 2 years. I think a lot of the things that he says have nothing to do with race at all that are agreeable to people that are in the Trump movement. But as far as race is concerned, I wouldn't call him a white supremacist. And I think he's actually said in an interview that Nazis have rejected him. So I don't know if it's white supremacists, KKK, or Nazis, but he's said that they've rejected him, that they try to kill him or whatever. So I don't really buy into this characterization of Richard Spencer. I don't think that that's really realistic. And then he said self-proclaimed founder of the alt-right. I think that it's been pretty well established that the alt-right was around long before any of these people in the Trump movement or people outside the Trump movement or claiming to support Trump. The alt-right's been there since before them.
Right. Correct.
So I don't see how Richard Spencer, unless he's some sort of a 4chan guy, could even dare proclaim that he is the founder. So alt-right journalist Lucian Wintrich, which I don't know, he's the one that is he's the White House correspondent for the Gateway Pundit. They're calling him an alt-right journalist. A writer for the Gateway Pundit sparked outcry when he flashed the symbol in a similar picture at the White House in February. Notorious alt-right personality Milo Yiannopoulos also frequently flashes a symbol. They are just throwing this alt-right label all over the place. And notice how they bring up Richard Spencer pretty soon in this article.
Well, they've got to throw Richard Spencer out there.
They do it every time.
Yeah.
They do it every time. Every time they get a chance to try to make a false link of racism or white supremacy or Nazism or KKK to anybody in the Trump movement, they always will do the non sequitur. And the non sequitur is that Richard Spencer, like they literally throw this standard paragraph in there. Richard Spencer, who's a self-proclaimed alt-right founder, also is a white supremacist. And we're like, okay, what does that have to do with the rest of the article? Nothing. But they throw it in there because they want you to make the link. Moving on. Oh, Kat Capps wrote, Trump has normalized this. Okay, so what Kat Katz did is she posted pictures of Pepe the Frog, who's a 4chan joke that's going around, holding up an OK symbol. Whoever drew it is not really good at drawing hands, but it's just Pepe holding up an OK symbol. I don't know if it's taken out of context on purpose or if this is literally all the... There needs to be more pictures for me to make the link here. It's literally the face of the frog holding up an OK symbol. I don't see how that links anything to anything.
No.
And then you show, Jim Hoft and Lucian Wintrip is also in back of the podium holding up the OK symbols. And Jim Hoft actually tweeted out and hashtag Pepe. And then you have a picture of, did you see this? In the same tweet, there's a picture of Donald Trump standing behind a kid who's holding up the OK symbol. Look at the kid holding up.
Oh my goodness, that little white kid.
Illuminati
goodness.
confirmed. Anyway, so that's that. That's Cat Caps. Cat Caps is some crazy woman who has a snowflake symbol next to her name. The resurgence of the symbol may be traced back to a popular alt-right meme known as Smug Pepe. So if you want to look that up, that's on you. Which began circulating on alt-right pro-Trump message boards in 2015. They're talking about 4chan. Mr. Trump often uses the symbol when speaking. Okay, so what Mr. Trump does, that's President Trump, by the way, you douche. You know, you have some respect. We at least called President Trump or President Obama. You know, I didn't sit there and say, I refuse to call him president. He's not my president.
He's not mine.
We have enough respect for America and the office to do it. You should too. If not, leave the freaking country. Anyway, Mr. Trump often uses the symbol when speaking. I don't think he's using the symbol. What he's doing is he's, everybody's got their little hand gestures. And Trump holds it ends up being an OK symbol, but OK symbol implies that you have it holding up so that you can see the circle, the O for OK, right? Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
He is doing it with his hand down, like your hands are out and you're kind of doing your hand gestures while you're talking. He's doing it while holding his index finger with his thumb. I don't think it's any kind of symbol, but you're really reading far into this. It's ridiculous. So he does this often, explaining its significance with the president's supporters. Anyway, so that's their explanation, that it's significant. And by the way, I asked around to several people at the Real News Correspondence dinner, and I said, well, what does it really mean? Does it actually mean something? And they all said the same thing to me. And by the way, I think that they said this knowing full well that this could be in confidence. Like they could have told me, oh yeah, you don't know? Yeah, this is white power. They could have said that, but they didn't. They said, well, no, it's the way Trump holds his hands when he speaks. That's what they told me.
What is it? Occam's razor. The most simplest answer is probably the correct answer, which is absolute insanity. These folks, listen, folks, the fake news mainstream media, that's all they want to do. They want to get people fired up. They want to say things that's nonsensical. They muddy the waters and they get people's heads spinning in a stir to where one of two things will happen. Either you'll follow them and believe them, or this is their goal. You'll follow them and believe them, or you'll get so fed up and so sick and tired that you'll walk away and want nothing to do with media.
And if you're not sure, if you're in that third small category of people who are smart enough to think for yourself, but you just haven't been around it enough to know, you're eventually going to get red-pilled. The more you look at it, the more you find out, the more you learn about the world and how everything works properly. You're going to get red-pilled.
Yeah.
So Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, characterized the symbol as a racist hand sign. That means nothing. The ADL is a very integral part of the weapon known as the propaganda arm of the Democrat Party. It's the same thing with like fact-checker websites. Fact-checker websites aren't checking facts on anything. It's a tool used by the Democrat Party to substantiate or attempt to substantiate fake news. And the ADL is a tool used to to substantiate. In this case, they're substantiating the fake news or the fake fact, the alternative fact, if you will, that that symbol is a racist hand sign. They need to explain why they came up with that assessment, and they won't because they're lying.
Right.
Right. Quote, some white supremacists, particularly in California, may use the two-handed sign. Listen to this. A two-handed sign in which one hand forms the letter W and the other hand forms the letter P to represent white power or WP or white power. An entry to the ADL's hate symbol database reads, here's what you need to know. Here's the real news interpretation of this lie and fake news. This is the real. The symbol that Mike Cernovich and Cassandra and Jim Hoft and Lucian throw up in the air is the OK symbol used with one hand. The two-handed hand signal that supposed white supremacists use to represent WP is completely different. Where's the connection? They're literally saying that, well, because both of them are hand signals that mean something or represent something, that it must mean that they're all white supremacists. What about black gangs that do the the Bloods and the Crips that do all those? They do all kinds of crazy gang signs. They almost have a whole language, right?
Oh yeah, it's literally sign language.
Is it because they're doing hand signs that mean something? Does that mean they're white supremacists? That's the kind of leap of logic that they're making here.
Right. It's a pretty bad one.
Yeah, a two-handed. It's two completely different hand signals. It would almost be like saying that in order to get into this club, you have to do this particular hand signal to get into the secret club. And showing up and doing an entirely different hand signal and hoping that gets you into the club. Does that make any sense at all?
None.
No, it's two completely different hand signals. So this is just completely ridiculous. Miss Fairbanks joined notoriety when she moved from supporting Bernie Sanders to supporting Mr. Trump. So she must have been a white supremacist back with Bernie Sanders, or maybe she found out that since she was always a white supremacist, she shouldn't be following Bernie Sanders and instead following Mr. Trump. They say Mr. Trump again. President Trump for president. He's president now. She now frequently speaks out against Islamic terrorism and the Black Lives Matters movement. By the way, Black Lives Matters is a racist terrorist organization funded by the anti-American terrorist George Soros.
Absolutely.
To prove my point that they had nothing to do with anything that was actually happening, this is on the ground, is that as soon as Hillary Clinton lost the presidency, they disappeared. Why?
You haven't seen them. You have not seen them since.
They have disappeared. The reason they have disappeared is because all of these movements are completely funded fake movements. They're funded. Yeah, just they don't happen without the funding.
Right. And just like the climate change, global warming, the march that happened on D.C., we'll talk about that after this.
Yeah.
That was clearly funded, and we'll explain why.
And we'll explain
we
how
were there.
How we know.
We were there.
Yeah, we were there at the march. So the Black Lives Matters movement, they were everywhere leading up to the election. Everywhere. They were doing marches. They were doing protests. There was even some that have been involved or connected to rioting. They were extremely racist. Some of the things that they were saying. They were connected to the kidnapping of that mentally handicapped
tortured him.
There was some connections to that massacre.
In Dallas?
In Dallas,
yep.
Where the guy went around and killed a bunch of cops.
We've been doing this so long, I can read his mind. I know exactly what he's going to say.
Right. So this is definitely a terrorist organization. They were very, very active, and they were all over the place, and they were very vocal. And somebody predicted this. I'm not going to take credit for it, but right after Hillary Clinton lost, like within a couple days, somebody predicted that. And I wish I knew who it was because I'd love to give him credit for it. So sorry, if we find out who it is, I'll definitely give him a shout out. But they predicted that because George Soros will no longer be funding the Black Lives Matters movement as a tool to agitate the voters in America to mobilize to vote for Hillary Clinton and against Trump, that you'll never hear from him again. And I thought, wow, that'll be interesting. I kind of believe that. And let's see if it happens. Absolutely. They were 100% accurate. They disappeared because the funding dried up. So that is what Cassandra Fairbanks, which, by the way, you can follow her at Cassandra Rules on Twitter, and I would highly recommend that. She is a prolific writer, and she had an interview with Tim Pool probably about a month ago, maybe, where she got to talk about the company that publishes her writing, which is Sputnik.
Oh, right.
Yeah, well, Tim Pool asked her about her relationship with her previous employer and how it changed and what the differences are with Sputnik, especially since Sputnik has been accused of being run by the Kremlin and being completely beholden to everything that they say. And Cassandra pointed out that her previous employer did, which I think was Salon or something like that, or Mother Jones. It was something ridiculous. They were constantly editorializing. They were heavily editing her articles. She said one article had 4 paragraphs added to it.
Oh, no, come on.
Yeah. They weren't just chopping stuff out. They were adding lots and lots of paragraphs. And what is she to do? I mean, she's getting paid by these people. I mean, she's got to make ends meet. She's going to take the money and just walk off and just deal with it, whatever. I don't blame her. Well, at Sputnik, she said she doesn't get any guidance or any threats of make sure you're writing about this or anything like that or any coercion. And when she sends it in, if they publish it as is, which I think is very interesting. So I think she admitted she has a lot more freedom in Sputnik, which is pretty sad. But anyway, so her employer Sputnik applied for White House press credentials last month. That's probably how she got in. So she's probably a White House correspondent for Sputnik. I think. I didn't ask her. I wish I did. I had a chance all week to ask her that. Mr. Cernovich is the founder of men's rights blog Danger and Play. Have you ever heard Danger and Play characterized as men's rights blog? It's a men's
rights blog?
Yeah. I'm looking for a blog, maybe something along the lines of something like a men's rights blog. What would you send me?
That might be a hate on the commercial. There's a lot of commercials out there that lawyers advertising to men and men's rights during a divorce.
Yeah.
That might be a hate. That right there might be a group. They're grouping them with them hating on women.
I guess.
Because that's the only time I've ever heard men's rights is when it comes to divorce and lawyers.
Well, remember the Red Pill movie, the documentary by Cassie J? Her whole thing was a lot of men's rights stuff.
Okay.
Big time. Because she was trying to expose them as a feminist.
Okay.
And she got red pilled because she agreed with everything that they were saying about the men's rights and all that stuff. So I would think that more of that kind of stuff, those organizations would be more men's rights blogging than Danger and Play.
Right.
Anyway, and he's author of the book MAGA Mindset, Making You and America Great Again. I would think he's more known for Guerrilla Mindset, although he did admit that he's sold as many MAGA Mindset books as he did Guerrilla Mindset. But anyway, he received White House press credentials on April 25th. So that's the article. And it's fake news. And I tweeted to the author of this fake news article. And I will probably not hear back from her. Her name is Emily Sugarman. SHU.
Oh, that's fake.
Sugarman. Yeah, she's a bot. A bot. Yeah, definitely. It's just crazy. So anyway, we hung out with all these people over the weekend at the real media Correspondence dinner.
Right.
And I think it's great. They do a media Correspondence dinner. They've been doing it for decades and decades with all the bigwigs, the NBCs, the CBSs, ABCs, CNNs, Fox News, and they all come with their tuxedos or whatnot, and they give out all these awards for all the kind of fake news that they publish. And this is the first maybe 2 years where real news has made a big come up. And the reason we've made a big come up is thanks to you all at home for craving the truth. You're sick and tired of getting lied to. And the funny thing is they had such a monopoly on the news that a lot of you people at home may not have even known that you were being lied to. And eventually, as your Rush Limbaugh started making more and more of more of an impact and a bigger and bigger audience, he started to point out that this is how they're lying to you. This is how they're lying to you. And you got your Sean Hannity, who hasn't been around anywhere near as long as Rush Limbaugh, but he's started doing the same thing. And then Glenn Beck, God love him, he definitely do a lot of red pilling, and I know he's kind of fallen off the tracks lately.
We talked a lot about, well, not a lot, but we talked about him this weekend. He was what he was for the time that he was. He did a lot of good. And
he did a lot of great things.
Right. He did a lot of good. However, I wish he would still be doing good now.
Yeah.
And it's just unfortunate he's slipping way far off the tracks.
He's lost a lot of focus. He's been disillusioned by, he had a real good thing going with the Tea Party. A lot of people thought, including me, yours truly included, we all thought he was literally the founder of the Tea Party because of the way that he just took it and ran with it. And he got disillusioned by the media, who have pretty much tried to destroy them. And then he's not a strong leader, all right? And he cowered down and he told everybody, I don't want to be part of this anymore, just like everybody else that are normal, everyday people that thought that they found a home at the Tea Party. They freaked out when mainstream media called everybody racist. And they went running. But anyway,
absolutely.
Okay, not to get too far off on a sidetrack. All those people were red-pilling people about the media, and it was very small, slowly growing, but it all came to a head this election cycle. And they can only be on so many hours a day, so many hours a week. And what do? There's 21 hours a day during the week that Rush Limbaugh is not on. He's on 3 hours. He's off 21. People were craving that real, true news.
Well, in the 3 hours that he is on, it's mixed with commercials. Like here on Smith Radio.
It's really 90 minutes.
Yeah, here on Smith Radio, you get a full, normally, this is a short show today, but you normally get a full 3 hours uninterrupted information, commentary.
Right.
In your face, all out there, no holding back, nothing, and giving you the truth.
Right. And so it's not, you got your Paul Joseph Watsons, your Mike Cernovich, the Bill Mitchells out there, and all these people just come out and start to fill in all those other time slots as best they can. And it's all on demand. So people watch these things after they're produced, minutes or hours later. It doesn't really matter. But it's new. It's fresh news. They just get it maybe a couple hours late because they're doing it on demand, and they're realizing, wow, we're finally getting the truth. And after all this time, Jim Hoft decided we need to have a correspondence dinner the same way the fake news does.
Absolutely.
And so I'm glad he did it. And I gave him some feedback on it. I said, this was great. I'm really glad you did it. Thank you for taking the initiative and doing this. And I also pointed out that, I hope that more thought is put into the actual programming of it. And, I'm just glad he did something. Isn't it true that sometimes, instead of overthinking it, a lot of things happen in life. Some great things happen in life just by, let's just do it and see what happens.
Right. Well, not only that, but once you start to do it, that's how we did this show. Mm-hmm. Let's just do it, see what happens. Don't get me wrong, folks.
Right.
The first couple of shows you'll never hear again because they were awful and they're not around anymore.
But, what? Why not?
No, what'd
you do?
No, they're probably out there somewhere in the ether.
They're in the ether.
But 4 years ago, we had to learn how to make this happen. We had to learn how to come off crisp and clear and coherent and put our ideas and our thoughts together, and how we interact with each other now. Not a lot different, but a little bit more different than it was 4 years ago. Honestly, I think we're able to read each other more. We know what each other's going to say for the most part, most of the time.
Right.
He knows when I need time out, and he knows, and I know when he needs to.
I know the best time to interrupt you, and
but so when you just say, you know what, throw off the bow lines, let's go do this. Let's set sail and chart these waters. We're going to learn something. It's not always going to be good. There's going to be ups. There's going to be downs. There's going to be difficulties. There's going to be bad things are going to happen and great things are going to happen. If you don't do anything, you're moving backwards. Right. If you're doing something, at least you're moving forward. Something.
Yeah, and the thing is you do it, and that's where you start to learn from mistakes, and you learn from what went right, and all this kind of stuff. And I think that it's just great that we got a chance to see what's it like, and it was in a cigar lounge and everything, so it was really laid back atmosphere. But I hope one day that it could be big enough and popular enough to have in like a regular hall where, the nominees are put up, kind of like the Oscars, and they show close-ups of everybody. Who's gonna be in the envelope? And they open the envelope and you pull it out, and then the winner has to go up there and speak until the music starts playing, and they yank them off of the hook like they did in the vaudeville days. And
right,
that's the fun stuff. That's the good stuff right there. So, and I think it could get to that. Certainly. I mean, I truly think, and here's why I think fake media is not going to go away. This is all about the right and the left. I did an interview with Evan Sayet a couple days ago, and he's the one that did the mindset of a modern liberal mindset.
Right.
If you you absolutely have to watch his video because it's timeless. He just told me 10-year anniversary of that speech he gave at the Heritage Foundation. I just listened to it twice. Brian listened to it with me once on the car up to DC this weekend, and Brian could attest to it is timeless. 10 years ago, he makes this speech, and we're listening to it, and I'm like, this totally applies to everything that's happening today. So I highly recommend it. But it is the thing is they are never going to go away. The fake news is always going to be around, because there's always going to be these liberals, and in order to get liberalism popular enough for people to be stupid enough to vote for it, you need to propagandize them with lies. That's why fake news is not going to go away. They're going to continue this media news correspondence dinner is going to continue.
Right.
And it's going to continue to have fake news.
Oh, absolutely.
And the real news is going to, maybe we'll be the popular ones one day. Maybe we'll be the big ones. Maybe everybody will look at the fake news and laugh at them or whatever. That would be a great day. That would show that America has become great again, if that happened.
In my early days, my innocent years,
yeah,
I asked Carrie, I said, Carrie, hey, how long do you think we'll be fighting at this to where we win?
Oh, are you kidding me?
Come on, man. What, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years? When do we win?
3 years.
3 years? When do we win, Carrie? When do we win?
12 months?
The answer he gave me was startling and shocking.
What do you think it was? What number? Throw a number out there.
It will always be here.
Infinity.
Because, and they hate it when we say this, but it is good versus evil. It's right versus wrong. The left, the Democrats, and you may be like, no, you can't say that. Yes, I can say that. There has not been a single time. Take one suggestion, one notion, one policy, one idea, anything the DNC, Democrat Party, that they wrap them all up to find one single person that has done a good, positive thing that has had great, good, positive outcomes, long-term, short-term. Can't find one. You're not
no.
Every single one of their ideas, they're bad. How do I know that? Look at Europe. Democrats are, their end result will be Europe. Their end result will be Venezuela. You're like, Brian, why are you harping on Venezuela again? People are dying in the streets being shot by cops because they want free speech.
Well, wherever
they want food.
Wherever
they want
communism
freedom.
is, we're talking about Venezuela every week because that's where the communism has reared its ugly head.
And it's in the Americas. It's here.
Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, if we were doing this show in 1982, we'd be talking about the Soviet Union and the bread lines.
Right, and we'd be talking about Cuba possibly, you know, and the issues going on there and how Cuba was a stepping stone into the Americas. It's what communism wanted to come to the Americas. Here's how we take over the Americas, North, South, Central. And if you guys say, why is he saying Americas? Well, because that is Canada, America, and South America referred to as the Americas. That was their stepping stone, Cuba, to come into with communism and take over the Americas, all of us. And then they would have one world order, one globalist organization called communism.
Yeah. Or if you ever hear people refer to the West, that would be everywhere from Eastern Europe all the way around the world to Alaska.
And if you want to think about it this way, and that's great pointing out that visual, Western ideologies, just think of Christianity. Think of Anglo-Saxon.
Well, traditional European culture.
That culture.
It's Western, yeah.
Right, that has moved over here to America as well. They want to crush that. They want to ruin that, want to get rid of it. Because we do not accept, Western ideologies do not accept anymore the dictatorship, the despots, the communist, socialist ideologies where control is put over the many of the people and the elite at the top. That's
the key.
The elite at the top, whether it be king and queen, whether it be one dictator, Kim Jong-un, whether it be whoever, it could also encompass a group of politicians, whatever it be. The power is spread amongst the people, and the government works for the people. That is the American dream, or the American exceptionalism, is that the government works for us. We don't work for them.
Right. And the thing that people need to realize about socialism too is that the reason this is pushed is because this is the method to get them all of their power and wealth. The elites. Right. They create a society where all the little guys work to enrich the elite government people. And it's just such it's an evil thing because you hear all about how evil it is for a CEO to use a business that he may have worked on his entire life and grew into a giant mega empire like Sam Walton.
Took much risk.
Well, no, my point is that he used capitalism to build up a business in which people do commerce, and it ends up being this big business that he gets all of his wealth from. He pays himself a big salary. Maybe he lives in a giant mansion and he has all kinds of cars and all this kind of stuff. And that's fine. But it's done using capitalism, which is truly an honest way to earn big money. It's an honest way to do it. I think that it's a complete lie to say that somehow evil was done to make this happen. On the flip side, with socialism, it's the use of force by doing the same exact thing as far as bringing a large group of people together in a way that trickles up to the elite few, but it's done in a very evil way because you're doing it by force and you're saying people have to do this and you have to do that, and there's all these rules, and the rules are very oppressive.
Well, and think about back in the past, back during Russia before the fall of communism, the USSR, when they saw blue jeans. They saw American clothing.
Yep.
I mean, what kind of car could you buy during the USSR? Probably only one or two styles, colors, one or two colors. When the rest of the world, rest of the Western world that practiced or enjoyed capitalism could see a variety of opportunities, a variety of options in clothing, options in cars. And when you talk about Sam Walton and Walmart, the only way for them to be that successful, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, the only way for them to be that successful, and this is the part that Democrats don't get. The only way they can be that successful is if they offer a benefit to someone in such a great deal that that person deems that they need it, they have to have it. That's a good deal. I want that deal. It's going to benefit my life. Democrats cannot fathom how another human being can help another human being benefit his life. The giving of one's services to another person in the anticipation of payment in the end. See, they don't get that. They don't get that at all, and they don't trust it, and they don't believe it. However, what they do get, they trust and believe, is they know that the government can steal, obtain, get that money ahead of time, and then redistribute it the way they see fit.
Yeah.
Does it make sense? I don't know.
Hopefully we didn't get too inside baseball there. I love talking ideology and
but this kind of leads up to the march.
Right. So we had the climate march, the climate change march. I was really surprised. I know it was a very fortunate happenstance.
This went down in D.C. yesterday.
Yeah.
Blocking off the roads, disrupting the entire city.
Well, it was a planned march, and it was organized and all that kind of stuff.
It's insanity.
So, yeah, they marched down Pennsylvania Avenue from the Capitol to the White House, and they were supposed to encircle the White House and chant stuff at the White House. And we were there. We tried to do a couple of periscopes from it, and really, we just wanted to capture what it was like to be right in the middle of that mob. I will tell you this. This was a very civilized bunch of people. I mean, it was really about the worst thing we saw was a couple people, they would try to chant and drop a couple of F-bombs, but it was nothing like inauguration weekend. My God. That they would have bullhorns, and their chants that people were repeating in mass were just profanity laced, and it was disgusting and all this.
Well, what was disgusting to me is the pink hats that the one group that Madonna was involved in that wore for women to demand to not be sexualized or identified in a sexual manner, objectified in a sexual manner, for them to then use their sexual body part to make
as the label,
of their statement.
Yeah.
It just, folks, they're crazy. This global warming, this global climate change, global climate chaos, whatever you want to call it, is a communistic ideology that does nothing but control the people and rip the money away from the people's hands. Something I saw early on that just really stuck with me is that, and I mentioned this on the way, on our drive back, we drove to D.C. 8 hours each way. We had a lot to talk about. Never played the radio one single time. Carrie and I nonstop talked 8 hours, and we're talking again on the radio. No, but
we were taking turns sleeping, and then we were both sleeping. It would look like a scene from that movie, Vacation.
Oh yeah,
so drove off
National
the road
Lampoon's Vacation.
Yeah, drove off the road. Craziness ensued.
But something that I pointed out, these stupid Big Brother, idiotic, giant billboard signs, LED signs on the freeway that put up messages that say,
don't drive distracted.
Don't drive distracted. Carrie, when was the last time you drove on a freeway? I bet you drove distracted. You need to not be distracted. And I'm going to tell you, the government needs to tell you to not distract yourself.
I made a joke about it. I was distracted by the sign. It was like a whole paragraph that I had to read before I passed. It was going 70 miles an hour, and it goes fast. You got to read fast. Meanwhile, I'm like rear-ending 3 different cars.
Right. And then it told us, then there was another sign that told us, slow down because speed-related deaths this year total 4,000. And we're only a few months into the year. So now you're threatening me with death. You are literally trying to scare me into doing something. I'm done with this Big Brother thing. Global warming is just another Big Brother control issue. They're doing it to our kids. They're teaching our kids that early on you're going to see these signs, and this is how you're going to learn. They're going to accept it. Global warming, this is what we're going to teach to you. We're going to raise you up right. The protests are real. People are upset. They're emotional. The more emotional people are, the more young children and minds full of mush believe them.
Well, here's the thing about global warming. It is, without any question, without any doubt, a complete hoax. Global warming is a hoax. And now initially, when I first started doubting global warming, I was thinking, well, maybe this is due to something other than man-made causes. That was, and I can get people there. No matter who you are, I can start to question whether it takes a lot of arrogance. If you know science and you know how minuscule of an impact we have on such a ginormous Earth, a planet, an entire planet. I think, excuse me, there was it may have been a Minute Earth episode on YouTube where they said if people stood shoulder to shoulder, front to back in a small little square, how much of the Earth would they cover?
Right.
All, 7 billion people?
Yeah.
Turns out it covers the size. I was thinking, oh gosh, like a whole country? Oh, like a state, a whole state? No, they can all fit within like one city. If they were shoulder to shoulder, front to back, every single man, woman, and child on Earth could fit within about the borders of a large city.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, not only that, but we also saw this. We drove from D.C. to Cincinnati through the part of our country that has been established for hundreds of years, 500 years. Maryland, the East Coast, that area has been settled and established for 500 years. We drove 8 hours from D.C. to Cincinnati, and the vast amount of time, the most amount of time, probably 7 of the 8 hours, nothing but sprawling hills and rolling hills and farmland and wide open spaces. It's not the whole thing about the Earth being overcrowded or more crowded than it's an illusion that happens with people that live in crowded cities. It's hard for them to imagine. They know that their city is very, very crowded with a lot of people. They also know that over the entire Earth, there's thousands and thousands of cities the size of theirs. Right.
But I think that unless you get out and do a lot of traveling by car, excuse me, not just flying over, people really miss out on what the Earth is really like at ground level when they fly over. And that's why I think a lot of these elites miss out on this. But when you're driving through, you realize the expansiveness between the cities. And some people, I believe children mostly because of the way they're propagandized in the schools. I know I was. You think, well, America started on the East Coast.
Right.
And they built all these cities literally hundreds of years ago, 500 years ago in some cases. And over the course of all these centuries, some of them got bigger and bigger and bigger, and they had to spread out, and they had to form new cities nearby in open country, and they kept spreading from the East Coast to the West. And so if you look at the entire United States, it makes sense that a majority of the people are on the East Coast, and as you spread westward, it gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner, until you get to the West Coast where it's crowded again, but that's because that's the destination. So as people are going west, that's where they end up. So here in Cincinnati, you go in any direction, there's a lot of farm area outside of the city. But you would think as you go east, it gets denser and denser and denser with people. Well, that's just not the case. You drive outside of D.C., in Maryland, of all places, this is one of the original 13 colonies. There are huge, expansive farms. That's all you see. These giant, multi-acre farms that all over the place. And it's amazing to me that having grown up in a newer state, not really, really new, but a newer state, that
founded in 1809, something like that. Yeah.
So it's a newer state. It was founded after America was, or the United States had become, a country and all this kind of stuff. It was pretty much completely Indian country for the most part until after the Revolutionary War was over. Maybe even the War of 1812, but 1809 or whatever it was. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of surprising for somebody that grows up outside of the 13 colonies, just how much room there is. So the amount of impact that people have. And then you say, well, Carrie, we're pumping all the oil out of the ground, all the fossil fuels, all the carbon.
Yeah, the march said, put the oil back in the ground.
In the soil. So it went to rhyme.
Put the oil, look at me, I'm such an
oil
idiot.
In the soil. Or something like that.
Put the oil back in the soil.
And I said, great.
Oil changes in your backyard for everyone.
I've been so worried when I do my oil change in my car, what to do with this oil, the used oil.
Now you know.
And if you dump it in your lawn, if your neighbors see you, that could be very frowned upon in general. And maybe even if the EPA was called or something like that. It turns out the friends of the EPA are these protesters. They're saying, put the oil back in the soil. So I'm assuming that if you are a climate change sheep, you're brainwashed with the climate change, and the earth has a fever, and you believe in that. You have to fix it by dumping your oil back in the soil. I actually said that out loud, and people kind of looked at me like, oh my gosh, this guy changes his own oil? Yeah, I don't know. It's just crazy. Bunch of elites out there.
No, but when they start talking about the fever that they got this fever that's just...
Guess what? I got a fever. What? And the only prescription is more cowbell.
Cowbell? Oh, my goodness.
That's how ridiculous it is when they say the earth has a fever.
Yeah, give them more cowbell. We should have brought a cowbell with us to that stupid march.
So the woman in front of me, she was... And that's a shocking thing we talked about. The amount of folks that were way older than us that were there protesting. I'm talking in their 50s, in their 60s.
At least 10 years older than us. We were on the bus or the train going back to where our starting point, back to our hotel. And there were these two women. They had to have been, I'll be nice and say probably 50, but it could have been as much as 60.
50
whatever.
to 70.
The point is they have been on this earth, Mother Earth, even longer than us. And I will tell you this right now. Based on my personal experience on this earth, there is no global warming. And if it is, it's so minor and minuscule that I don't think it's going to cause any significant changes. And I'll give you an example. There are photographs, side-by-side photographs. You could look this stuff up on the internet of photos of beaches taken back in the 40s and 50s. Side by side.
Oh, you told me about this. I never heard this before.
Yeah, well, I saw it. Somebody did it. Somebody took a picture of a beach that had been photographed back in the 50s or maybe 60s, but it could have been as early as 40s. And there was a modern picture, like from 2016 or 17, of the same beach taken from the same exact vantage point all those decades later. There is absolutely no measurable difference in the height of the ocean, which, by the way, doesn't take too much imagination, doesn't take too much intelligence to realize that the ocean, as it rises, you could do high tide, low tide, whatever. As it rises, the ocean comes in, right? Because it's higher, so it goes further in. And if it goes out, or if it goes down, it goes out. And these photographs show it at the exact same position, same shape of the shoreline as it was many, many decades ago.
And that's the thing too. Go back 100 years. Go back whenever you have. Go back as far as we have recorded information. Go back that far. Nobody can show that there's been any significant rising of any ocean tides, of any water tides. No significant rising or lowering significantly of the temperature. But then I said this when we were in the train station, we were walking out in DC, 93 degrees. And I said, the ladies were walking in front of us, say, Carrie, if we stand here long enough, the climate's going to change again.
You're talking about weather.
It's going to get cold.
Yeah, see, we're talking semantics.
If we stand here long enough, it's going to get warm again.
Brian's make fun of their semantics.
But here's the thing, how warm is it? And that's something else that's never been proven. What is the optimal temperature a lot of scientists believe if it did get warmer, we'd have more crops, we'd have more activity, we'd have people less fat because we wouldn't be cooped up inside during the wintertime eating bonbons. Good
Wow,
Lord.
that was loud.
Good Lord. Eating bonbons, curds, and whey.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you this. There's definitely a look. Go on vacation and look around. Look for clues where you, if you're let's say you're in Florida and you look at the shoreline. Maybe it's some people go to the same exact place over and over, year after year. My grandma did this for decades. She found a place she liked. She went to the same place for decades.
Sure.
For vacation.
Yeah.
See if you can see any clues or signs that show that there's been a difference in elevation of the water over the course of many, many decades. Is the shoreline closer in towards the hotel than it used to be? Try to find historic photos. Try to find actual evidence that you can see with your own eye. Is something built in a way that they didn't anticipate the ocean rising? You won't.
Right.
Because it's not. And you would talk about hockey stick. If that hockey stick, we're talking about the graph that shows that the global temperatures have risen significantly over the past 150 years. If that's supposed to melt the polar ice caps, which significantly raise the ocean, then where is the buildings that are out into the ocean, right? The ocean would have come in so far, we'd have buildings or foundations of buildings already 150 years.
That's the point. It's ridiculous.
It's fake. Now let's talk carbon real quick. Carbon dioxide.
Okay.
Where did this whole idea of greenhouse? I've asked, my dad was adamant about carbon dioxide being a greenhouse gas, showing that it significantly heats up whatever, the same way that a greenhouse does. And a greenhouse heats up on the inside because the glass traps the air inside. Okay?
Okay, that makes sense.
So sunlight comes into the greenhouse and it bounces around in there and heats up the air, and the air can't circulate with the outside of the glass. And so it raises and raises and raises. And so you could theoretically have a greenhouse in the middle of the winter without any heating on the inside, and it could be freezing. There could be snow outside or whatnot. And you walk into the greenhouse and it might be comfortable. I mean, it's done, you know? And so that's how the greenhouse, that's why they call it a greenhouse gas. But how it works, there's not glass around the globe. The way it works is you got carbon dioxide throughout the atmosphere. This is how it works theoretically. I'm not telling you this is true. This is how they believe it to work. That the rays of the sun come into the atmosphere, and when they bounce off of the Earth's surface and come back out, they reflect off of the surface. The rays are coming back out, and they hit carbon dioxide molecules and bounce back in. And it's as if it's acting as a mirror, reheating the surface and reheating the air.
Okay,
so instead
that makes sense.
Instead of the ray coming in and some of it being absorbed as heat and some of it being reflected out, you get absorption, reflection, and then a portion of the reflected light gets bounced back in and absorbed, where normally without the greenhouse gases, it would be reflected back out into space, and then that would be less heat that the Earth experiences. Now, how do we know that carbon dioxide does that? Well, let's look to Venus.
Oh, Venus. Yeah, it's a planet, right?
Okay, so Venus, we have discovered, is the hottest planet in the whole entire solar system.
Okay.
So it's close to the sun, so that makes sense. But there's a planet closer to the sun, way closer to the sun than Venus. But guess what?
What's that?
Its average temperature is lower than Venus. So scientists were like, what? Why would a planet that is further away from the sun be hotter than one that's so much closer to the sun?
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Well, it turns out the atmosphere of Venus is 96% carbon dioxide.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
Not only that, Well, let me, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So what happens on Venus is, since it's all carbon dioxide, that it absorbs all of the light, as heat. All right. So you get a lot more absorption of the sunlight into heat. And that's why the surface of Venus is like 800 degrees.
Woo!
Yeah. It's like really, really hot. So the scientists were like, wow, I guess carbon dioxide is the key. In fact, maybe the carbon dioxide is what is keeping Earth warm, just like it keeps Venus so much warmer than it's supposed to be, because that carbon dioxide. Here's what they're not telling you, though. Carbon dioxide in Earth's atmosphere is a percentage, it's a fraction, a tiny fraction of a percent of the Earth's atmosphere. Not only that, this is going to blow your mind. This is going to blow your mind. Venus has a certain volume of gas. All right. So if you took the entire amount of gas, not volume, mass. So if you take all the air in Venus and weighed it.
Because air is a gas, by the way. But
it does have mass. It does have mass. If you can't, all matter has mass. If you took all of the mass of Venus's atmosphere and compared it to Earth, guess how much more mass Venus has in their atmosphere than Earth's atmosphere? Overall, the whole mass of the entire atmosphere.
Double.
Could be double. So it'd be like thicker.
Yeah. And
by the way, Venus is slightly smaller in circumference of the actual crust and all that, slightly smaller than Earth. So volume-wise, the more volume of air you have, we're talking a lot of miles of thickness.
Okay.
I thought, wow, what is this? 2 times? 3 times?
2, 3, 4 times.
5 times?
Yeah.
20 times?
Sure.
100 times.
That's suffocating. You could cut it with a knife.
You would get crushed by the weight of the atmosphere on the surface.
Oh, wow.
Venus has 100 times as much mass of atmosphere as Earth, and 96% of it is carbon dioxide, and only a tiny fraction of a percent of Earth's atmosphere is carbon dioxide. So this idea that we can look to Venus to prove that carbon dioxide is a greenhouse gas is insane mathematically.
It just doesn't even make any sense.
Right. So I just wanted to point that out. So after that, there's a lot of people out there that don't know that scientists have used Venus as the benchmark to make the statement that carbon dioxide is such a significant part of the greenhouse effect on Earth. That's like a staple to their debate. A lot of them don't even know that. They don't know that scientists are looking to Venus. They don't know why. They are literally saying that carbon dioxide is the reason global warming is happening because scientists are just saying it. That's it. Scientists say it.
And here's another thing.
It's gospel.
Why would scientists say that? Let me tell you, folks. Follow the money.
Oh, yeah,
Scientists are poor unless somebody funds a study or somebody funds a project for them. Scientists just don't go walking around the streets saying, hey, let me be a scientist for you. No, they really actually have to have money and work on projects and be significant and do something. In order for that to happen, they have to be paid, funded. Somebody's got to be involved. And a lot of times the scientists will take the money just because they need the money to make something happen. You could also get somebody a pseudo-scientist, just graduated from college. I'm now claimed to be a self-proclaimed scientist. I need money for my project, for my thesis, whatever it is. George Soros, people walk up.
If you have a
now
PhD,
you got money.
If you have a PhD in a science field, you get paid for saying whatever they want you to say. And if you don't say what they want you to say, you might not get paid.
No.
You'll be outside the loop.
Right.
The loop of money, the circle of money.
So follow the money. So this global warming thing was just absolute insanity. Some of these people, one of the women in front of us, elderly lady, she was holding a sign that said, had something about the globe and I'm with her, which I believe was a takeoff of Hillary Clinton. I'm with her. maybe some kind of correlation or connection with that. And so I had to make a comment to her and said, I'm with her. How do you know Earth's a her? Well, she's crying inside. She's crying. She's got feelings, and we need to love her. And I said to her real quick, I said, well, ask my wife. She knows I got feelings. I'm emotional. I got love.
You were calling her out.
Yeah, no, she didn't want to hear nothing about that. I said, whoa, so it can't be a man. It's got to be a woman. Well, you men got everything already. Can't we have the earth? All right, take it, whatever.
We gave you hurricanes.
Right.
And they gave them back to us.
Oh, they sure did, didn't they?
Yeah, they had all the hurricanes.
This is, yeah, so it's nuts. Global warming is nothing but just a hoax.
It's a total hoax, and it needs to be called out, and we need to stop tolerating people coming out and saying that we need to do, that the government needs to do something, either giving away sovereignty to a world body like a UN or whatever in the name of stopping the fake global warming.
And we do hundreds of millions of dollars we give to these idiots.
Which
the
needs
taxpayer
to stop.
dollars.
That needs to stop. And also just government-funded projects that are an attempt to combat the fake global warming. It needs to stop. We need to stop tolerating that. I mean, it's like you're a child or one of your children wanting gas money, and you give them gas money, and it turns out they're using it for drugs. And then when you find out they're using it for drugs, you got to stop giving them what they're saying is gas money. It's just not true.
Right. And if you look at some of the websites that are legit, like the dailycaller.com, that's pretty legit, would you say, Carrie?
I think so.
Dailycaller.com. Google how much has the U.S. paid in global warming. Dailycaller.com's first thing that comes out, it says Soros paid Al Gore millions to push global warming agenda. I mean, that's just what it is. George Soros, this one world order, this guy who wants pays for and funds the left, the hate groups, Black Lives Matter, paying Al Gore millions to push this global warming objective. Commercials on the radio telling you, John Q. Citizen, to turn your lights off and help save the earth. Turn your lights down during the day. Help save the earth.
Don't cut your grass after 4 p.m.
To help save the earth. Don't do laundry during the day. Do it at night or in the morning. Save the heat from your dryer. Got to do this. The more and more you hear this, the more when you do, you got to realize, knee-jerk reaction, realize this is them trying to control me, trying to guide me, trying to get me to do something I don't normally want to do. Okay, folks, I've said it on the show before a million times. I'm going to say it again. If you want me to slow down and conserve on gasoline and help save the earth, you don't want me to idle my car, you want me to turn out my lights, you want me to do all these things, why don't you start with the big giant corporations who pay millions of dollars to leave the machines on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? All the tractor trailers that drive up and down the freeways, hundreds of thousands of millions of miles, burning more fuel than I can. How many tractor trailers you see parked off the freeway running while the dude's sleeping inside?
Well, you got to keep the cabin nice and
That's right. My whole point being
climate control.
Oh, man. So it's climate control. Okay, my whole point is, no, I'm not calling out corporations and truck drivers and all these things evil. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm making the comparison. If you really wanted to do something, you would talk to them and not to me, the public. However, they do talk to you, to the public, so that you change your mind on what global warming is. They control your mindset so that you will then buy into this hook, line, and sinker. Don't believe it. Don't buy it. Pay your electric bill and use as much as you damn well please.
Here. I'm with you on that.
I mean, I feel like going up and starting my lawnmower right now and just letting it sit in the front yard, not even move it.
Somebody could get hurt. Anyway, here's an idea for you. So let's say the argument is, well, if we just let the free market dictate the price of coal or oil, let's say we ignore the environmental impact, it could end up being really cheap and we burn it all up, and one day in the future we have no coal and oil, and maybe we should ration it more for future generations. I got an idea. What would you say about this? This is a little bit of government intervention, but supply and demand. You reduce the supply and you increase the cost of it, assuming the demand stays the same, right?
Right.
Well, if you're worried about coal and oil, being limited for maybe even disappearing altogether for future generations, why couldn't you have some sort of a federal program? Ooh, danger.
Oh, man.
Hold on, hear
Federal.
me out. We're going to use the free market capitalism at work, and we're going to have the government save future generations here. What if you had a government program where they would start to buy coal? I'll just use that as an example. It could be oil too.
Okay.
And start to build up a reserves.
Okay.
And they buy it from the free market. Now, as the government's buying the coal, they're reducing the supply, which is going to increase the price. And maybe they'll only buy the amount needed to keep the price at wherever they want it to be. So maybe they'll buy less if the price goes up, so that way it stabilizes the price, and they'll buy more when it gets cheaper, and they just stockpile it. That's it.
Okay.
When the ground is empty, there's no more coal in the ground.
No more. All gone.
We're talking maybe 150 years from now, 200 years from now, 300 years from now.
Okay.
That whole time, we were stockpiling our reserves of coal. We could start reselling it.
Oh, do you realize how much money we could make by gouging them?
Who?
The people that want it.
No,
It's
I mean,
all
you're
gone.
talking about the government reselling it back? No, I mean, think about it. If the government were making reserves like that in order to maybe increase the price and stabilize the use, because what are we saying? That people are sitting on the side of the road with their cab running so they have climate control.
Right.
Obviously, fuel is too cheap.
Right.
If fuel was a little bit more expensive, maybe they'd say, maybe I'll cut the engine off while I'm sleeping. Maybe.
Hey, let's not give the government ideas.
All right, so
Because they can and will do that.
all right, so they buy it up.
Okay.
At the right speed to keep the price where it should be, to make it make people a little bit more conservationalist. Meanwhile, the government is stockpiling this huge amount of oil, coal all over wherever they store it up. And when it runs out of the ground, could be, let's say 100 years from now, it is dried up. There's no coal left, no oil left, nothing. There could be billions and billions and billions of gallons stockpiled through this reserve program. When they start to resell it back to the free market, they could just eliminate taxes. The entire government could be run off of reselling these reserves.
But they wouldn't do that.
They wouldn't do
They'd
that.
have to tax it. They would have to tax it. They would call it a tax just to bump the price up.
No, they would just sell it free market just like any other private company would.
And then say
whatever people want to pay for
And
it.
say, oh, by the way, I know it's a little bit more expensive, but that's the tax.
Oh, you mean no, they would sell for whatever the free market dictated. If nobody was buying it, the price would go.
Bless our generous fee of giving it to you. They gotta get a piece.
They're gonna get the money. They're literally they own the
want
oil.
more.
They own the coal.
They want more.
I don't know. It's just an idea. We do have reserves of oil, but that's mainly for defense purposes. So if we ever have a major war and our oil gets cut off somehow, maybe Russia bombs our the places where we're extracting oil from the ground, we'd have our oil reserves safe so we could still fight a war. I'm thinking just whatever. Free market, man.
Right, absolutely. So Trump says that they're going to end climate spending. And when we do, it will climate spending to the UN. And when we do, it will save America $100 billion.
Why the hell are we giving away money to countries over a hoax? This is a scam. It's a
Donald says he would save
scandal.
Donald Trump says he would save $100 billion over 8 years by cutting all federal climate change spending. A sum his campaign says would be achieved by eliminating domestic and international climate programs. Holy shnikes. We're spending $100 billion every 8 years on climate crap?
And we're supposed to be upset over $1 billion to build a wall. You said $100 billion?
$100 billion over 8 years
is being given away to countries.
Right.
Over a hoax.
Right. Not only that, but through this article, it's saying that the U.S. pledged $3 billion over 4 years to a related green climate fund that is counted towards the pledge. Congressional Republicans have fought unsuccessfully To kill the funding, the U.S. paid $500 million to the fund in the month of March. Total U.S. climate finance for developing. This is another. Listen to this. Total U.S. climate finance for developing countries for adaptation, clean energy, and sustainable landscape activities, but also development assistance and export credits totaling $15 billion over 6 years. Okay, here's the point. Here's my point.
Our government, before the dog dies.
I'm going to tell you, man, they're just murdering that thing out there. So our government has pledged to third world countries to give them billions of dollars to go green.
Instead of, these are developing countries.
Right. Third world countries trying to be up and comers, and instead of getting rich like we got rich with capitalism, coal, and oil,
we're going to give them expensive windmills, and because they're not going to manufacture these things themselves.
Right. How much did you say each blade cost?
Oh, I don't know, but it's really expensive.
Well, how much was the one windmill?
Okay, so here's the thing about windmills.
And by the way, I bring this up because we saw these stupid bird killing, bald eagle killing, murderous.
That's just anti-American
monstrosities.
They're killing
spinning
America.
at up to 200 miles an hour,
maybe faster, depending on how windy it is.
All right.
So here's the deal with not to get too far on a tangent, but I just want to point this out real quick. Windmills. The manufacture of the airfoils that are the blades of the windmill, including the motor, the electric, it's a generator, and all the cables and all that stuff, very environmentally unfriendly, first of all. Very environmentally unfriendly. When they manufacture the blades, cost a fortune because of the techniques and stuff like that, and the manufacturing techniques in order to build it. They also don't last forever. None of the parts in the entire windmill last forever. And so when you factor in the initial cost of building all of the windmill and also the additional cost of maintenance, such as replacing blades, greasing the thing up, or replacing broken parts, and just that kind of stuff, the amount of electricity generated by these things never recuperates the cost at any point, ever. It never does.
Right.
They don't pay for themselves. And solar panels are even worse. Solar panels are an environmental nightmare. And, yeah, you can't throw these things away.
Just like the electric cars, try and get rid of those batteries.
Well, let's talk about batteries. A lot of the solar panel issue is that they charge...
How do you store the electricity?
Through batteries. So we're manufacturing all these super hazardous batteries all over the place.
Using up valuable resources.
And also...
Lithium?
Well, yeah, and also whatever they're making the
lithium naturally occurs, and you find... I mean, it's just... You just don't find it. It's just not plentiful all over the world. It gets very expensive.
Well, yeah, to manufacture the batteries, certainly. And the solar panels, not very environmentally friendly. They're expensive, and they're really not recuperating cost.
No, what I would love for somebody to I would love for somebody to give me the maintenance cost alone on one single windmill. You won't find that anywhere.
No, because you'll find out that the electricity generated doesn't pay for the damn maintenance.
Right. And so you were telling me, well, before I moved back to Cincinnati, the Cincinnati Zoo, which my history professor in college told me the Cincinnati Zoo was established because of Vietnam.
No, it wasn't.
No, Carrie, you don't know.
That is such a lie.
He said it was established because of Vietnam, because of all the instincts, this species of animals that were going extinct because of our carpet bombing and Agent Orange and
the Cincinnati Zoo is. I thought it was the very oldest zoo in the entire country. Turns out, I think that was fake news on some plaque or placard or whatever at the zoo. Or maybe at the museum center. Turns out, I think it's the second oldest. But yeah, the Vietnam War, no.
Yeah, I know. So it was fake. It's the professor talking nonsense. So when I came back to Cincinnati, Carrie's like, hey, man, let's go. So we went. We took all the kids. And we parked. It was unbelievable. I loved it. I was like, wow. There is carport parking for everyone. I was like, this is amazing. Every parking space in the entire parking lot of the zoo has a carport, a roof over it, so you can park in the shade. I'm like, man, this is incredible. He's like, no, that carport, no, that's, oh Lord, he showed me
I got the satellite image put up on my computer right now.
The Google satellite
Maps.
imagery.
Yeah, it looks like a bunch of giant buildings all over the place, but it's actually the solar panels elevated high enough off the ground that you could park over time. So this giant parking lot was transformed into a solar farm. It's big. It's, in fact, just off of looking at my, just eyeballing it, I would say that the size of the solar farm in square feet, I guess, if you want to call it, probably just overall size, I would say it's probably 1/6 of the size, maybe probably about 1/5 or 1/6 of the entire size of the entire zoo.
So the parking lot's what, maybe a couple football fields? At least one, maybe 1.5.
It is about 1.5 football fields by 2 football fields.
Yep. Okay.
Huge.
Yeah.
It's really big.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I looked at the information about the solar panels because they had just been completed. So I read about it.
And they wanted to brag about how well they worked.
Oh my gosh. I was thinking this is going to supply electricity to the whole city.
Oh, yeah.
That's what it seems like when you're looking at it. And anyway. So come to find out that the electricity from all these solar panels supplies 17% of the city of Cincinnati?
Yes.
No, not.
What?
No, 17% of just the zoo's electricity consumption.
Oh, that's nuts.
It's really sad. 17%. By the way, I don't even want to look it up right now, but I know it was tens of millions of dollars to buy and manufacture and install all these things. I don't think they'll ever recoup that. How long does it take to rack up $10 million in electrical charges? In bills, electric bills.
Well, you do know they do the Christmas time light show.
You can't even.
They are LED.
They didn't used to be. You're talking about the festival,
and it's
lights.
not called LED light. It is called an LED, folks. The ones you say, oh, LED lights. No. The LN LED is.
No, it's light emitting diode.
I know that's why you wouldn't say LED light. Because the L is the word light.
But it's
LED.
a light emitting diode light.
No, you don't do that. It's faux pas.
That would be like saying a light emitting incandescent. Right? You
Do that. Okay.
An LEI. It's an LEI.
Oh,
got lots of LEIs. They're heating the place up.
Oh, wow. So, but no.
That's what the Barbie oven uses. What is that? The oven?
Oh, yeah. The incandescent light bulb.
Yeah. LEI. Very efficient. It's electric oven.
Wow.
Anyway.
So, Vanessa on the chat, if you're ever listening to us live, folks, we go live every Sunday evening, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern. Tonight is a special night. We've been traveling for 8 hours all day. We're cutting the show short because we've got to spend some time with the family. And
yeah, we've been gone for a couple days and they're angry.
And we haven't showered, anyway. So, but if you're listening to us live, 5 to 8 p.m. Eastern, you be a part of the chat, which you can comment back and forth to us. And I've been commenting back and forth with Sam Keels, who's great, is always on the show. Vanessa Delaney, who's on the show as well. And she's out. Maybe she's out in Philly. She said that the Philadelphia Zoo is the oldest zoo.
Everybody claims they have the oldest. It's crazy. I don't know. I believe her.
Cynicism? Come on. It's okay. That's okay. I believe her. And then Sam, definitely on board with the global warming, a lot of insight. Recycling campaign was a unit-driven thing. I didn't know, but it makes sense. Thank you, Sam. Thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you for contributing to the show. If you ever want to... Oh, the Google says the Philadelphia Zoo is the oldest zoo.
Yeah, I think that...
And botanical garden. Wow. I have to stop by there next time, Carrie.
It says 1874, but you don't know that the Cincinnati Zoo had some livestock in 1872?
According to my professor at the University of Purdue University, according to him, it was because of the wars and the killing off of animals.
Hold on, let me read this. The Philadelphia Zoo. listen to this. Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden. The Cincinnati Zoo and Botanical Garden is the second oldest zoo in the United States and is located in Cincinnati, Ohio. It opened in 1875, just 14 months after the Philadelphia Zoo.
Oh, 1 year and 2 months.
Oh, well.
And the Cincinnati Reds first baseball team, 1869.
14 months after the Philadelphia Phillies.
Who lost?
They were erased from history. No, I'm just kidding.
Okay, so anyways, on that note, folks, is there anything that you want to bring up real quick here?
Oh, gosh. There was a lot of the stuff that went on this week. Tax reform and all that kind of stuff. Do you have anything to say?
Trump's tax reform, absolutely incredible. Cutting 7 brackets down to 3, lowering tax rates.
It's like the big thing about libertarians was that they wanted it to be a flat tax, that's the same thing. Just to let you guys know.
Trump is getting closer to that.
I'm kind of a math whiz, and there's a lot of, math going on here when it comes to taxes, rates, and different categories. You said 7?
7 brackets down to 3.
What flat tax means is 1 tax bracket.
Right, and there should be 1 tax bracket. If you make money, you should pay tax. If you don't make no money, don't pay tax.
So those, what are they? The Freedom Caucus. Caucus people, obviously, they would love to have a single bracket, which they call flat tax. That's what that means. So going from 7 to 3 gets us closer. We'll see what happens in the future, but I'm glad we're going that direction.
Lowering the top tax bracket from the late 70s, early 80s. I think it was changed in 84 by Ronald Reagan, but I believe the top tax bracket was somewhere in the 60%. Cut down
78 or something.
Okay, maybe it's high, over. It was
really
way up there.
Yeah.
Now cut down to 33%. Corporate taxes cut down. Paul Ryan called out on the carpet by Sean Hannity. Hey, I heard you wanted 20% corporate tax when Trump wants 15. No. I'm with Trump. 15%.
Yeah, he made a lot of promises on Sean Hannity's show. If he is absolutely
held to the fire.
Done.
Okay, something else. The minimum
wage?
No, minimum tax.
The minimum amount.
No, there was a tax that they had set up originally for people who didn't pay their fair share, that they would fall into this category, the richest of the rich. Well, in all reality, it comes to find out, $100,000 makers, $200,000 makers were getting snagged up into this net, and the IRS was collecting more money than they ever should have. And they always said, that's all right. We'll just keep the money. Trump has gotten rid of that. It's gone. No more scams in that sense. So,
and also he reduced the amount of deductions you could take. So when you were rich and you had a 78% or whatever, 70 some odd percent taxes on your highest amount that you made, you had so many deductions that you could take or try to go after that you could reduce your overall tax by quite a bit. What Trump did was reduce the upper bracket to 35 and eliminated almost all deductions. So in a really strange sense, he may have raised taxes on the rich. Seriously, he may have actually raised taxes on the rich, which is, I mean, if it's flat and simple, I'm all for that. Remember, Donald Rumsfeld came out with a public letter to the IRS saying, I don't know if I did my taxes right or not, but I tried my hardest. I took it to several different CPAs. They all came up with different numbers, and I don't think anybody knows for sure. That was a couple of years ago that he did that. It was a slam on the IRS.
And it is what it is. This monstrosity is out of control to do more than just collect tax. Whatever president is in power, if he's a crooked president, if he's a Barack Obama, he uses and wields the power of the IRS to suppress his opponents. Dictatorship, that's the way it rolls. So we got to stop the IRS from doing what they're doing. It's just absolute insanity.
Yep. I think that this is a really, really, really good week for Trump. The North Korea thing. I keep telling this to people over and over, and I think it's really important to tell you this before we go. I don't think we have anything to worry about with North Korea. And I'll tell you why.
It's a failed state, but go ahead.
This is why I don't have anything to worry about with North Korea. The people that should be the absolute most worried about North Korea is the South Korean people.
Right.
That's the people that should be the most worried. They did a man on the street in Korean. This guy knew fluent Korean, fluent English, so it was like in English, but it was subtitled, everything. This video had people that he interviewed, some of them young, some of them a little bit older. They did not care at all. They said Kim Jong-un and Kim Jong-il and all these people, they do this every election cycle. It means nothing. It's all a big show. They were not concerned. Why should we be so concerned if South Korea, of all places, is not even that concerned? My second point of that is if it really does get out of control, I am absolutely convinced, and you should be too, that China will probably be the biggest intervener in this. They'll intervene more than anybody else. I think if they have to, they may even send some troops in on the world's behalf.
Donald Trump slipped a little thing out there to because China and the Asian culture is very, very big on respect. Respect your elders. Respect your father. Respect your grandparents. Respect. When Kim Jong-il launched that ill-fated rocket that landed within its own borders on Friday and it was a major failure, Trump went out and said, "This is very disrespectful to the Chinese leadership."
Uh-oh.
Which is true. And it calls China out and says, hey, whoa, North Korea, how you disrespect us. 4 hours ago, I tell you, no disrespect. So Trump Trump does what he does. He's unconventional, but let me tell you, don't think he's not effective. Very effective.
I think he's proven that over and over, so I'm down with that.
Yeah. Anyways, while we were in D.C., we saw a lot of kids, young individuals, young youths with Make America Great hats on. Just walking around D.C., visiting different places. It was the weekend. Nothing special about the holiday, but we saw a lot of Trump supporters in D.C. It was awesome. It was incredible. Watch for the next event. Possibly out in Phoenix, Arizona. We will be there for you. We will be there for the movement. We will be there for the cause. Donald Trump will come and go. Donald Trump will be president, and then he will leave. Smith Radio was here before Donald Trump, and will be here after Donald Trump. We will find the next guy or girl to help continue to make America great again.
Yeah, the Phoenix thing is going to be kind of like a CPAC for like new media and people that want to get involved in new media. I think it's great. I think the reason why Donald Trump was elected and the Trump movement is so strong is because it's the little guys that are wanting to get out there and make a difference. And this will kind of be like the training grounds or the proving grounds for them. I think it's a good idea. I think we need to keep people involved and not let it fizzle out like the Tea Party kind of fizzled out even before they were destroyed by the fake news media at the time. So yes, be looking for that. I would like to see a lot of people come out to that actually, because training needs. I mean, I think we learn from each other, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, fastest hour. Or 2 hours.
That was actually an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, that's good. That'll work.
So we're here for you folks. Share this show with your friends and your family. If you like what you hear, tell people about it. We got to expand our audience. If you want us, I know you're tweeting out and you're messaging, please do a daily show. Do a daily show. We would love that. We would love to do that too. It takes an audience. Help expand the audience.
Yep. Retweet on Twitter, SMYTHRADIO.
And Brian P. SMYTH on Twitter.
With unfathomable power.
What kind of power?
Unfathomable. It's without fathom. Wow. Yeah.